right? So if you're doing direct mail, once you get into list stacking, what you want to do is you want to filter whatever list that you want to market to. So let's say I'm going to use my driving list, and I want to make sure that they are at least in more than 2 lists. Let me see. Oops, let me do 1. All right, so I have 997 records in my list. So let's say I'm going to start with this, and then I'm going to take out any remove duplicate mailing addresses. So I go down from 997 to 852. Again, what we talked about, you don't want to send, if you have multiple people, if you have people on your list, same owner owns multiple properties, you don't want to send them the same postcard, for the multiple properties you have. Just want to send them one mail piece. So you can just simply click right here. So it goes down from 997 to 852. So I have 852 owners with 997 properties. So if I was just doing direct mail like that, just one click right there saved me about like 150 records, which is, if you're doing like postcard at 50 cents, that just right there saved $75. So you can do that. And once everything looks good, select all the records that you want to send, and then click on order direct mail. All right, it's going to push all of those to direct mail. And let's say I'm going to call this my absentee list. First mailing, I'm going to send out, Feb 10th. And let's say total, I want to do 3 total mailings. Then you can choose the mail type. I would personally start out with postcard. It's the least expensive direct mail to do. And even after you clean up your list, there's going to be some records that come back as return to sender, and postcard is the least expensive way to see which records came back as return to sender. So you're not sending them first class postage, at $1 a letter, and then figuring out, let's say out of 800, if 40 did not get, or 40 or 50 did not get delivered. So instead of paying $40, $50, you could get the same data by paying like $20, $25 for the postcards for the ones that are going to come back. So I personally always start out with sending out postcards as my first initial direct mail contact, then we'll switch to letter just to mix it up. So you can do that. Again, we have a bunch of different postcards that you can select from. I personally haven't seen any major difference in, having one postcard work extremely better than anything else. Again, I honestly believe it. The most important thing with marketing is consistently sending to the same list, marketing to the same list, over and over again. With a list like the one that I have, if it's not a time sensitive list, like your probate or foreclosure, or, somebody going through bankruptcy, I think mailing that list every 6 to 8 weeks, it's more than enough. I don't think mailing a high equity list or, an absentee list every, month, I don't think that's going to be really good. So if you have 1,000 people on your list, and if you mail them every single month, you're going to spend, let's say, those $1,000 you were spending, you're going to spend $12,000. Versus if you mail them every other month, you would spend $6,000. I don't think the $6,000 extra that you would spend would give you, an extra dealer. So I think, again, every 6 to 8 weeks is plenty for a, basic high equity list that you have. So yeah, I would start out with postcard. Then you could do, a ballpoint marking letter. They look great. These are actually, handwritten. They use a machine, but it looks handwritten. It's actually used a pen to write these letters. And then, I would do like another business letter to mix it up. And then you can choose from different, letter content that you have. But again, they all kind of say the same thing. I'm interested in buying your house, but just, different, some are a little bit lengthier than other, but the same messaging. And then you can choose between pre-sorted standard, pre-sorted first class, or first class forever. One thing we do with pre-sorted standard is, so even when you do pre-sorted standard, we actually print out an artificial cancellation marking on the stamp. So if you look at an actual first class letter that you get, you'll notice like there's a marking from post office, which if you're doing pre-sorted standard or pre-sorted first class, when you get, letters from your bank or credit cards companies, it might have an actual stamp, but you'll notice they don't have a cancellation marking. So with our pre-sorted standard and pre-sorted first class, we print an actual cancellation marking on it. It's not the same as actual first class first class stamp, but it's close enough where somebody looks at it, it makes it look less like a marketing mail versus, if you did not have that. So something that we do, we've noticed, it gets a higher open rate for us. And once you've set it up, the next thing you want to do is, put in your contact details where, what name and address do you want on your letters or postcard. One thing we do in our business is we just use a very generic name. Kathy Davis is regardless of who, we've always used a very generic name to send out our letters and postcard. We don't use any acquisition person's name, lead manager's name. If there's any, if anybody leaves, let's say if we're using like John Smith and John ends up leaving, then we don't want to keep switching the name. So that's why we just picked a very generic name. So every time we send our letters or postcard, it's always Kathy Davis. And then even when my lead manager calls them back, she said, hey, this is Kathy. Or somebody calls back and says, hey, can I speak with Kathy? So she'll answer the call and she'll just say, hey, this is Kathy. So even if we have somebody else taking the call next time, we'll just say that, we'll just say, hey, just answer the call as Kathy. And if they want to actually meet someone, then we say, no, she's based out of town. She just helps us set the appointment. And then the acquisition manager goes out on the appointment. But we've never had that issue. We've always used a very generic name. You could use your own name. But for us, we've always used a very generic name on our letters. And then this is really important when you're doing marketing, direct mail, or any other marketing, make sure you have a separate phone number set up for your campaign. So I talked a little bit about this last week. If you're doing direct mail to your absentee list, right? And let's say you have 1,000 people on that list, and then you have another list of 2,000 people of probate. And then you end up using the same phone number for all those 3,000 letters, and let's say you get 50 calls and you end up getting 2 deals out of it. How do you know whether it was the absentee list, that gave you the leads and the deals, or whether it was the probate list? So really, really important is to use separate phone numbers. In my business, I have about 45 different phone numbers, and it helps me make much better decisions because when we're doing different marketing, we can go in, we allocate budget to that marketing, we go in and we say, okay, this specific campaign, we're going to allocate $5,000, for example. But then, we set up a separate phone number. We'll put all the money that we're spending for that campaign on for that marketing to that campaign, and any money that we make goes towards that campaign. So at the end of 6 months, or once we have our marketing review, we'll look at it and see how much money we spend on each marketing channel and how much money did we make. So really wanted to use separate different campaigns. Going back to the example of the 3,000 mailers that you send, if you send up, if you end up spending using the same phone numbers, you might be happy. You'll say, hey, I got 50 calls and I got 2 deals out of it. That's fantastic. I made decent money on it. Let me just repeat the same cycle again. But if you had 2 separate campaign numbers that you were using, you may notice that off the absentee list that you mailed out to, you sent out 1,000 letters, you only got 5 calls, but both the deals came from those 5 calls. Versus those 2,000 letters that you sent out, you got 45 calls from that, or 45 leads, but you ended up getting 0 deals out of it. So really, really important to have separate campaigns set up for different marketing that you're doing, so you can see what's working for you in the long term, which one is giving you the most leads, which one is giving you the most deals, and at the end of the day, which one is giving you the highest ROI in your business. So every dollar that you're spending on your marketing, what's the ROI that you're getting back? I mean, we have some people that are doing TV ads or radio ads, so they'll even have separate phone numbers set up for different radio stations. So instead of using the same phone number for, let's say, 103.5 and 98.9, they'll use different phone numbers so they can go down and look at which radio station is actually working best for them in the long term. Is it the 103.5? Is it 98.9? And same thing for the TV ads. If they're doing TV ads on ABC, CBS, and NBC, if you use the same phone number, you have no way of knowing whether the lead came from ABC, NBC, or CBS. Versus if you're using different phone numbers, then you can see exactly based on how much money you spend marketing on each of the TV stations, how many leads did you get, how much money did you make from any of them. So really, really important to use separate phone numbers. I mean, again, I have like over 45 phone numbers in my business, and some investors that we have using our platform have like more than 100 phone numbers using for different campaign. But that's probably the best ROI you're going to get is by using a separate phone number. So at least at a campaign level, I would use a different phone number. And this right here, so once you've done that, let's say this one is my absentee. So I select the absentee. So this will be the actual phone number that will be printed on my letter or postcard that I send out. So when anybody calls me on this phone number, it's going to get tagged as my absentee lead that I have. So I know exactly how many leads that I get from the absentee list. And then the email address, it's only for, the ordering purposes. If you have email address field on your postcard, then put the one that you want. But just for this purpose, I'm going to use this email address. And then if you have a logo, you can upload a logo if you want. If you're doing a business letter, or if you have a logo on your postcard, then you can do that. And then again, if you want a signature on your letter, and then you want to make sure you put your website, and then this would be the return address on your letter or postcard. So then I would do Kathy Davis 8410 Kennedy Avenue, Island 46322. I am gonna go back and change this. If you were doing BPM ballpoint marketing letter, then you can put in, they actually mail you out your letters to your address, so you can drop it and get the local postmarking in your area. So if you have that, then you would put wherever you want them to mail you the letters. And so this is what your, confirming the order it would look like. Again, for this purpose, when you're doing mailing, you're only paying for one mailing at a time. So you're not paying for all of them at the same time. Once everything looks good, you go on and then just select the payment method and then confirm. And then your mailing will go out in a week to 10 days.